Since the Skip Barber Racing School opened its doors in 1975, it has been the premier racing school in North America, introducing novice and aspiring professionals alike to motorsports. With over 300,000 alumni, including champions and race winners in Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, and sports car racing, the Skip Barber School and its Formula Race Series has been the proving ground for many of the best to ever climb in a race car. Today, it is a damp circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, that plays host to the third round of the 2021 Skip Barber Formula Race Series. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Marine, Kyle Heyer alongside, and this is the third round of the championship. It was scheduled to be the second of the weekend, fourth of the championship here today, but weather intervened yesterday. The good news is we're about to go racing in the rain here, Kyle, at Circuit of the Americas. Can't wait to see what the young drivers and the more experienced ones as well in the Skip Barber Formula Series have in store for us in a difficult track, even under the best conditions, and these are not the best of conditions.
Yeah, hi, Ryan, and this is a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you this afternoon. The Skip Barber Racing Series, when we talk about motorsports a lot, we go back and talk about the historic parts of motorsport, the racetracks that have been around forever, the experienced drivers. The Skip Barber Racing School and Series is about the future of motorsport, and that's what I'm excited to see here today, is to watch some of these new drivers, these youngsters out there, and those that have been around for a little while, learn something new today, because a wet racetrack is always a challenge, especially at Circuit of the Americas. Tricky, slippery surfaces, lots of paint, lots of curbing that are very, very treacherous at high speed. We're going to see triple digits on the straightaways here, Ryan. So once we drop this green flag, wet tires on these cars, drivers are going to have to learn real fast if they want to be fast. And
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. It is a learning experience, and that's what this series is all about. It's a chance to hone your craft. There's a lot of instruction that goes along to being a driver in this series, and this is one of those boxes you've got to check. If you're an aspiring professional race car driver, you're going to have to race in the rain at one time or another, so why not get that experience here this weekend?
And these cars are very capable racing machines. Again, we're running Mygale FIA homologated carbon fiber chassis. They've got double wishbone suspension, 160 horsepower turbocharged Ford EcoBoost four-cylinder engine. Does 0 to 60 in just about 4 seconds flat, so pretty fast cars, very stiffly sprung, but they also only weigh about 1,400 pounds, which is not a lot of weight to have on the tires here. So it can be pretty skittery around the wet parts of the track today. So not only will you have to keep an eye on your rear tires and keeping those from spinning, but also going to make sure that you find the dry line around here, which hasn't really formed yet. You can see there in the surface, the changing of the colors there. The more reflective surface, probably the stuff you want to stay away from.
Take us through this track and the challenges that drivers would face, wet or dry. This is one of the more technical circuits you'd find in North America, and you would expect that. It tests the best in the world in Formula One and in other forms of motorsports as well on an annual basis.
It certainly is one of the most polished racetracks in all of North America. 5.5 kilometers, about 3.4 miles, 20 turns around here, lots of lefts, lots of rights. It all starts with a huge climb up into turn number 1, 110 feet somewhere around there up to the top of the hill, a very sharp blind apex down the hill. Then you're running into the S's, modeled after the Maggots and Beckett section at Silverstone in the UK. Very high speeds through there. You're kind of slinging the car through. Every corner links into the next. Then it's a climb up through turn number 8, a sharp, again, blind right-hander that will lead you into a quick kink at turns 9 and 10 on the run down to one of your best passing opportunities. That's turn number 11, Ryan. Heavy braking down there, down through the gearbox. Then you're going to get your rear tire grip underneath you here, drive all the way down the back straightaway up over a crest towards turn number 12. Another great passing opportunity that comes after this long slipstream area here. If you can stay in line behind another car, they will do the work for you, push all that air out of the way. You'll follow them in there. Then through turns 13, 14, 15, and 16, this is the arena section modeled after the Hockenheim ring. Ryan, this is a great opportunity to get overlap on cars, lots of rights transitioning into lefts, so a great spot to kind of get alongside somebody and go for a pass. Very slow through here, probably second gear, maybe third in these cars. Then out of turn 16, you'll head towards turn 17, 18, which is the carousel. Long right-hander, triple apex, in fact, that will take you downhill. Watch the curb on the inside. There's actually an anti-cut curb there that you don't want to get yourself up on top of. Then through turn 19, a fast left-hand flick into turn 20. The last corner of the racetrack here, Ryan, as cars are rolling.
Really challenging circuit. It tests just about every tool in the toolbox for driver and car alike. Got a good close look there at our pole sitter, Jeshua Elionel, who qualified earlier in this weekend on pole by over 2 seconds, admittedly in much different conditions than we're about to go racing in. But behind Jeshua in qualifying, it was extremely tight in this field, second to about 6th or 7th on the grid.
Yeah, Dylan Hadjasek is going to roll off on the front row in the number 01, about 2 seconds back. Lindsey Brewer, she's also running the TC America category this weekend as well. She ran there in Sonoma as well, alongside Seth Brown in 4th place in the number 12. Again, as you mentioned, the time's very, very close. After Joshua Alinel, about 2 seconds, 2.2, 2.4 back from the pole sitter, so all right on top of each other in that second row.
The starting lineup, 10 cars set to take the green flag here in round 3 of the championship. Second in points, leaving Sonoma, a runner-up in both of those races. Joshua Alinel on the pole. Dylan Hadjasek alongside Lindsey Brewer, Seth Brown, row number 2. Nathan Bird will be joined by current points leader Johnny Gindy in the 3rd row. Jimmy Dye and Bobby Krug make up the 4th row, while Brian Searsley and Frank Vieser round out the field, starting 9th and 10th respectively. And speaking of the points, we do have some drivers carrying over from that season opening race at Sonoma. As mentioned, Johnny Gindy, the points leader, with a couple of wins there, but Kyle, he's mired deep in this field. He's got some work to do, and he'll be in the midst of all that spray. I think pole position is always important, but in conditions like these, having that clear visibility out in front at the start of the race is crucial.
The track is slippery, but you bring up a great point. The spray off of these cars, they call that a rooster tail around here, Ryan, and when you kick up all that mist, it's hard to see behind. Again, these are open cockpit cars, no windshields, no windshield wipers. You're basically relying on the stream of air over your helmet to clear your visibility for you. It's also really humid and kind of foggy here today in Austin, Texas, so visibility is going to be a challenge, and also trying to remember what competitor you're racing against. All these cars are very similar, especially with the visibility issues you're having. You're not going to know who's next to you, and sometimes having that familiarity of knowing, oh yeah, that's Joshua, I know how he races, you're not going to know that necessarily today. So we should also mention, I talked about the future of motorsport. Joshua is 16 years old on the pole for this race.
Yeah, a lot of youth up and down this field, and for good reason. They identify this series as a chance to jumpstart their career. There's so much that goes along with this. Aside from just the racing, you get expert coaching from the Skip Barber Racing School, video and data analysis, season-long what they call human performance coaching. So that goes into the fitness that goes into driving these race cars, coaching for the off-the-track side of motorsports as well to provide some insight into the business of the sport. There's a ton that goes into it. You can find out more at skipbarber.com/formula-race-series. A whole lot more information can be found, and it's a great way to get into motorsports. These drivers have completed either a Skip Barber Racing School in order to be a part of this field, or have some previous racing experience, and their resume was vetted, and they were given that permission to go racing. And what a great opportunity it is. Pace car pulling off as the field makes its way out of turn 19 and headed towards turn number 20. Then it's the long run to where the green flag is displayed here at COTA. It's a different place than where we'll get the checkered flag. This line right here is where the checkered will be displayed a little bit later, but they'll head just a bit further, and already the field starting to accelerate, coming down the front straightaway at Circuit of the Americas. Ready to take the green, and we are racing. It's a big move there on the outside from Dylan Hadjasek, able to make a nice run to the outside of the pole sitter Alinel, and then a big move up the middle. Lindsey Brewer, the touring car driver, with a nice lunge up the inside. It's clean so far for the first sequence of corners. Impressive in conditions like these.
They're side by side for the lead as they came through turn number 2 down the hill, and on the run to the S's, they're going to have to get sorted out. Everyone's being pretty ginger on the opening stint here, just trying not to make a mistake this early in the race, but so far so good. We got them all through turn 1, and now we're going to head towards the S's section. Again, getting yourself single file, preparing yourself for the first passing opportunities, just working your way into a groove here in the opening few laps.
Not sure if there might be a problem for Nathan Bird, who started in the 5th position. Timing and scoring showing him stopped at the moment. At the end of the first sector, it would appear that Alinel is out in front, heading into the hairpin for the first time. Climbs on the binders there, then accelerates down with the rest of that field in hot pursuit. Looks like a decent start out of Seth Brown as well, who started in the 4th position, but has made a nice climb here so far. Heading into that Hockenheim-esque stadium section in just a moment here, Kyle. really cool part of this racetrack, modeled off one of the more famous portions of a circuit anywhere in the world.
Going to cross into that third sector and into the second best passing opportunity here at the racetrack. All the drivers now heading into the braking zone for turn number 12. There's Lionel leading ahead of the number 1. That's Hadjisek behind him in the all-white car. Very tight corner. We saw a car go off in practice earlier today in another category. So you can see the cars wiggling now just under throttle here, and they're all being very careful and cautious through this middle sector here, Ryan. And this is so requires so much patience to make sure that you don't loop the car here, especially when you've got the gearing going against you in first or second gear. There's the 18 car covering now. That 18 driven by Johnny Gindy, the previous champion of this series.
That's right, and the winner of both races at Sonoma, as mentioned, mired back in 6th after qualifying, but on the attack there was able to make up a spot. Looks like Bird is able to keep going, so apologies there, but rumors of his demise apparently coming a little bit premature. But Gindy on the attack, currently up to 5th, it would appear. And up front, it is Lionel over Hadjisek, who is doing an impressive job from 2nd on the grid in his series debut. He was not with us in Sonoma.
And already chasing down Lionel, or trying to go run him down at the start-finish line to complete the first lap. And all the cars that started have made it around to complete the first of probably about 8 or 9 laps, I'd imagine, here in a 25-minute race. There's the number 4 car in line. That's Lindsay Brewer. Right behind her, she's got someone popping out of line here on the run up the hill towards turn 1.
Yeah, Lindsay's dropped a couple of spots there on that opening lap. Still trying to feel out these cars. Has more experience in touring cars here in this season, although does have some open wheel experience in addition to some karting. That is Brown right there, battling, I think, with Gindy as they go side by side here through the S's. They do settle back into single file order, but it is 12 ahead of 18. So Brown ahead of Gindy in the battle for the final podium position. Impressive stuff there from Gindy on that opening lap, jumping a bunch of positions. Brown as well, able to make some good progress on the opening tour of this racetrack.
Yeah, and Seth Brown out of San Diego, California, started racing karts in 2010. That seems like a lot of drivers in this series come from racing karts, and this is basically just a big go-kart here in this Formula machine. Currently studying mechanical engineering and has completed a few internships at GM working on autonomous vehicles, and I think, I'm sure he'd like to program a route through the mist right now and try to drive up to the drivers out front, the 2 that are leading Lionel and Hadjisek.
Any help he could get would be appreciated, no question there. The number 4 car, Brewer, trying to defend Nathan Bird on the attack right behind as we drop a little bit further down into the field here. That is the number 10 machine. That is Krug. That has dropped back towards the back of this field. Interesting to look at that initial lap time, right just a little bit under 3 minutes in conditions like these. And keep in mind, it's going to take quite a while to get any kind of heat in these tires in conditions like these as well. Definitely difficult trying to find your way around, picking your way around this track. I suspect many of these drivers don't have wet weather laps around this place, and that was a great shot of the hands of our race leader, Lionel. You could see how hard he was working to keep that car under control. And
the difference between running here in the dry and running here in the wet is you run a completely different line. There's oil and rubber and all sorts of stuff on the racing line that you don't want to be on when it's wet, so you have to take a completely different approach here. And some drivers are on the racing line right now, and they're going to sort out that there's actually more grip in the non-traditional area here. You can see the number 1 tracking over about 3 lanes to drivers left of where he normally would be and finding a bit more grip there.
Yeah, Dylan Hadjisek right there running 2nd. Got the Goodyear Eagle wet rain tires on that race car. If there is anyone in this field who might have some wet weather experience at this track, it could very well be Dylan. He's from Houston, a 15-year-old, but he graduated from the 3-day and 2-day Skip Barber Racing schools right here at Circuit of the Americas earlier this year. So depending on what the weather was like there, he might have a little bit of an inside track on some of his competition.
Take a look at the 18 of Johnny Gindy as he has moved up to 4th and then sort of stagnated there, so might have reached the limit of his confidence for the moment. Lionel just went quicker, a 2:43.6 last time by. That was a second faster than anybody else, and it seems like for Lionel the confidence is building. There's Gindy, though, trying to run the 12 car back down as they run 3rd and 4th through turn 2 here.
And Gindy, one of the more experienced drivers in this field, has an interesting background actually from sim racing. He's the 2016 GT Academy winner, and that led to some great opportunities with Nissan Motorsports, including running in the 24 Hours of Dubai several years ago, and trying to pursue that career in motorsports. Again, it's interesting to see that sim racing has become an avenue to pursuing that career and then leads to opportunities in real cars, and we've seen Johnny very strong last year in this series and starting off this year with a couple of wins at Sonoma.
And Skip Barber actually runs an esports series that you can participate in as well. So that's an easier way to maybe get into a virtual car to learn the rules, the competition, the formats in a very similar way that you'd experience in the real world. So I always advocate for sim racing. That's where my background is as well. So coming from that world into the real world, a lot of the skills transition directly, and we're seeing that with Guindy and a handful of others. They mentioned video games on their driver profiles, Ryan. They come from that background, and that's what's familiar to them, and those skills translate, maybe not directly, but fairly well, and you can learn a lot.
2 laps in the books. Lindsey Brewer on the screen a moment ago has dropped down to the 6th position, so give Nathan Bird P5. Here's a good battle on track. This is still Brown trying to defend from Guindy, who not only was the champion of this series last year, but had a couple of wins at this circuit. So a lot of experience. You saw Brown there locking up the right front ever so slightly. Might have provided the opportunity for Guindy to make a move up the inside. He thought better of it. Discretion, the better part of valor, with still 17 minutes remaining.
They did actually swap there. Guindy did manage to go around the outside in turn 13 to move the 18 car to P3. So that was an excellent maneuver, and I think the reason why he was able to do that, running off of the racing line into the dry line, getting off that inside apex, that's what allowed him to get the grip to go around.
Yeah, very good eye there as Guindy makes the pass around Brown and now has been able to sprint ahead. You can see the pace difference once he's been able to get clear, and now he has to try and track down Hadjasek, who is some 2.5 seconds up the road as they run. The good news is that spray issue should be alleviated, at least for a little while, until Guindy gets up to Hadjasek a little bit closer.
Yeah, it's going to go away just until he catches him. But as they always say, it's one thing to catch somebody, a whole other thing to pass him. So still a long way to go, though. We're only not even 10 minutes into this race. So 16 minutes and 30 seconds left. Seth Brown, again, we've talked about him. He dropped a spot. But I think now that he's behind Guindy, he can maybe learn a thing or two here. But don't look too far back, because Nathan Bird in the 16 is coming fast.
Yes, he is. That's a cool story. It's a racing family, the Bird family. You might have heard of Jonathan Bird and the different racing operations that he has run. That's the elder Jonathan Bird. A younger Jonathan Bird now running the family business, which is a cafeteria in Indianapolis with some catering services attached to it, but long-time entrance in the Indianapolis 500 and other forms of open-wheel racing, primarily dirt track racing, but branching out into other forms of the sport as well here. But they've run in recent years drivers like Brian Clausen, James Davison at the Indy 500, and now this youngster, Nathan Bird, following in the family footsteps, except this time he's inside the race car, doing a lot of late model racing this year, but also branching out into open wheel racing. And why not? He's got big time aspirations to run in all forms of the sport, and he's getting a chance to cut his teeth here in 2021 in lots of different types of race cars.
Nathan began his career in 2018. He moved to Formula Cars in 2020, and he won a couple karting championships and had a podium finish in the rain in the Lucas Oil Formula Racing Series. So I think the rain racing might be something that he's really looking forward to this weekend, getting some laps on a slick track, something he might have already had some experience doing, and he's moving forward.
One thing to keep an eye on was the last time around, Al Yanel, who we're looking at right here, actually gave up a bit of time to Hadjasek, who closed in by a little over 1 second, about 1.3 seconds, in fact, the difference. Hadjasek set the race's fastest lap, a 2:42.442 the last time around, and just seems to be getting more and more comfortable inside of that number 1 car, the Mygale chassis F4 car. F4 style car that the Skip Barber Racing School uses. And he's definitely flying right now. You can see he's on the attack.
Yeah, and again, we mentioned Dylan from Houston, Texas. He's graduated from the 3-day and 2-day Skip Barber Racing School here at COTA earlier this year. He's only got about 6 days in this car, though, so he's still learning a lot. This is his first ever competitive race in this car, and he's doing a great job right now in flying. A 2:42.4 last time by. That was the best lap on the track by a full second over Al Yanel. So I think we might have a pass for the lead here in a few laps.
Well, certainly we'll have a battle on our hands, as you said. Getting there is half of that battle, but then you got to find a way by, and Al Yanel is a cool customer. He's also hungry for a race win, a runner-up in both races at Sonoma. That leaves you wanting just that little bit more when you're that close to victory a couple of times already.
Well, at that time through, Alianel responded to Hadjisek's assault, and he went a 2:42.3, so a little bit quicker that time through. Keeps the gap at about 2.5 seconds. Battle for position between the 12 and the 16. This is for 4th place, Seth Brown and Nathan Bird.
Brown's got that spot. Bird trying to take it away. He's been on a charge as of late, running some very good lap times as well. That last lap, Bird at 2:43.4. That was right around a second faster than the car he is chasing. But just look at that rooster tail coming off of these cars. The visibility cannot be good when you're tucked that close to the wing, but you got to get that close if you're going to make the pass.
And don't let the red mist get to you here, because Nathan Bird's chasing Seth Brown right now, and that needs to make you a little bit more aggressive naturally. And it's super easy to be over-aggressive and spin the car out or brake a little bit too late. So I think for Bird right now, the goal is to not overdrive the car. You caught him, so it must mean you're faster, at least at the moment. So don't do anything that will take all that advantage you just gained away. So I think we're going to see Bird be very patient with this pass on the 12.
Closing in, under braking there. Might have had a little bit of a lockup running deep into that braking zone, but doesn't lose a lot of space there on the exit of the corner. I've been interested, Kyle, watching these cars on corner exits. Some are venturing out to test out those painted curbs on the exit, others staying off of them. It seems that the prudent choice would be to avoid it because you don't get a lot of grip up on that paint. However, we have seen some of the fast cars at least test it out a little bit as Bird looking up the inside. Tucks back in line for now, and we'll see what he can do coming out onto the rear wing of the car just up the road. Brown with Gindy up the road from him. Alianel still holding off Hadjisek for the lead.
Yeah, the 16 of Bird, one of the things he said in his driver profile was the braking capability of these cars, he said, was, quote, pretty crazy to experience, and he's experiencing it now, that's for sure. You brought up the curbs. I don't know what paint Circuit of the Americas uses on the curbing, but it's the same stuff that they line the paddock with. I don't want to touch those right now. I almost fell over 5 times yesterday walking around the paddock, so I would stay far, far away from those. But if you can and you can hold on to the car, it's a little bit wider racetrack if you can use that curbing. But I think for now you're going to want to stay off of them. But as the race goes on, the confidence level rises. As you mentioned, we're going to see a lot more drivers build the confidence to explore a little bit more.
I'm surprised Gindy has not been able to pull away more. It looked like he opened that gap up in a big way when he made his way around Brown, but that gap has stabilized, and what that's done, I think, to Brown now is he's had to drive through some spray while trying to defend from Nathan Bird behind, and he finds himself in a difficult spot right there, the middle car in this shot.
Yeah, keeping an eye on the lap times to see where we're at as we hit about 11 minutes to go. Last time through was a 2:42.9 for Alianel, so he still is pulling away. A 2.5 second gap is sort of where it's stabilized. Hadjisek second, Gindy third, then Brown and Bird fourth and fifth. That's what we're watching right now. Then Lindsey Brewer behind them, Jimmy Dye, Cercely, Krug, and Vieser, who I think is off track at the moment in the number 14. Oh, no, he's on track. He's over by turn 12. He's just about a half a lap behind.
Alianel has responded. We mentioned Hadjisek set the race's fastest lap a few laps ago. Alianel took that back and has been running a little bit quicker than Hadjisek over the last couple of laps. The gap 2.5 seconds, as you see, from first to second. Gindy running right behind. By the way, did get some confirmation about the paint up on the curbs, and it is that special grippy paint.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, at least in part, that this is an FIA Grade 1 circuit, and evidently that is one of the requirements for the Grade 1 circuit. So big thanks to the update that we received on that.
That's good to know. I should do my paddock walks on the racetrack then instead, so I don't slip. Anyway, going back to the battle for the lead, or at least what the fleeting battle for the top spot. Moving back, you see the Hadjisek machine a little bit closer now. That doesn't look like 2.5 seconds to me, and we're watching the drivers wheel it a little bit more. I can't tell if it's still actively raining out there, but it's still very, very wet, and it's closing in for the top spot here.
It is. Hadjisek with a nice lap that last time by, and really, though, it's been on this lap, it seems like, where he's been able to make some of those inroads. Just over 9 minutes remaining at this rate. I think we're looking at 3, maybe 4 more laps to try and get this done. There's a look at the last lap speed. So you can see Alianel was able to build that gap that last time, but it was fractional. And it seems like on this lap, at least visually, that gap has closed down.
Whoa, big slide for Hadjisek through turn 18. He managed to hold on to it, but that was a four-wheel drift at the exit of the carousel. And you can see that he's definitely putting the power down now, or trying to at the very least. But great car control there. And does that scare you as a driver, Ryan, to slide like that? Or do you catch and go, wow, that was cool, let's do it again?
Does it scare me? Yes. Does it scare them? I don't think so. I think they're young, they're brave. Yeah, let's take a look at this replay. Second car through.
Holy cow.
That's a lot of opposite lock right there.
And that's a fast part of the racetrack,
yes.
too. You're probably not quite doing triple digits there, but awful close to it.
I do think that cost him a little bit. He did just set the fastest lap of the race, even with that slide, and was able to close that gap down to under 2 seconds. Was a little bit closer at various points during that previous lap. But for now,
Dylan's 15. I don't think he's learned what fear is yet. So he'll get there maybe, but not that time through he didn't.
This is probably our best battle on the track. We still have Brown and Bird very close together. Great work right there by our crew to cut right to it. Here's a nice move.
Whoa, through the S's. That's really sketchy. I don't want to see that again side by side. You want to get single file here in the rain, Ryan, but they almost tried double wide. The 12th car prevails that time. Brown ahead of Gindy.
Yep, absolutely. So actually, yeah, that's right. Gindy has then dropped back into the clutches of Brown. Where has Bird gone in all of this? Or is that the 16 behind?
It is the 16 car. So the 18 of Gindy is actually missing maybe. Oh, there's your answer. That's the number 11, actually. That is Cersei. Going for a loop and skids all the way. You can see how low grip it is. And he's actually got the rear tires stuck in the gravel at the exit of turn 18. And looks like we haven't had him trip the timing and scoring again on the front straight, so he might still be stuck there, and indeed he is.
Yeah, that we'll have to keep an eye on, and if that's deemed a dangerous spot to be stuck, and I have to believe it would be, that if he can't get going again, we might see a safety car to reset this situation here. So I think that was the look at Brown being chased by Bird that we were looking at a moment ago, and Bird took a look around the outside and backed out of it. And came back single file. It looks like Gindy has been able to make good his escape ever so slightly, up to about 4 seconds.
Here we go, 16 on the 12. This is a battle for third, or for fourth place. Oh, it will be third for third, actually, with the 18 dropping out. But it looks like Brown feeling the pressure from Bird behind him, and down the inside into turn 13. Got a little bit of overlap, maybe, not quite now. Front wing slips in behind.
Yeah, couldn't quite get alongside there, could he? But backs into line, and I'll give a lot of credit to Brown here. He's had to drive very defensively and has not made that mistake that is going to allow Bird to slip past. Bird doing a great job to apply lots and lots of pressure, but hasn't been able to find that magic potion to get the pass done. By the way, Hadjisek, you can see on the top left of the screen, has closed in to 1.2 seconds. This is about as close as he has been since the start of this race. You see the stranded car off to the right there.
For Brown, maybe the best defense is a great offense. He's been doing a fantastic job with the laps that he's been running and not making a lot of mistakes. And if you could just not make mistakes, you really limit the opportunity for Bird to get by you here. Out of turn 20, a little bit wide, though. There's the mistake that Bird was waiting for. Now a drag race up the hill towards turn 1.
He'll have that favorable position and also breaking off the racing line, so perhaps a bit more grip to be found if he can hang right there with the wheel of Brown. It's Bird to the inside, Brown to the outside. Battle for fourth is on, and you can give it to Nathan Bird. Makes that pass stick, slides out in front, and completes the move there in turn number 1. So 5 minutes to go, and now Bird around Brown will try and run down Gindy, who is still out there, but he's running about 9 seconds up the road from this battle. Here's a look at how this took place once again. What do you make of this pass?
Yeah, that's got to make you feel like Superman after that. Just getting on the brakes even later, and threshold braking, making sure that you don't lock up the front tires on a track that's this slippery right now in the wet. That was a textbook maneuver for the 16 of Bird, and he's moved himself up into what should be third place here, as the timing and scoring should bring us that here in a moment. But 4 minutes and 42 seconds to go, and Lionel hasn't looked back in a while. We'll see if Hadjisek can reel him back in. He just went quickest again last time by.
Yeah, we mentioned he had that down to 1.2 seconds, Hadjisek, but it seems like he's stronger maybe in the first half of the lap and then gives some of that time back in the second. Looking at the live updating telemetry, that seems to be the way that this has bounced, the ebb and flow of this battle. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Keeping an eye here on Bird, who has not truly been able to pull away from Brown as it stands. But this is, again, back to the front now, and Lionel out there with Hadjusek right behind. And I think this is the area where Hadjusek's been strong. He's been able to close in, but then gives ground up a little bit later, as we do have a safety vehicle on track, but able to stay green for now.
Yeah, this is what they call a hot tow, getting the truck out there and recovering the vehicle. There will be basically a slow-moving vehicle flag that the drivers will adhere to. No passing while you're passing that truck, but they'll be able to go out there and hopefully get Cercely out of the gravel and keep this race green. And for Lionel, I'm sure he'd love a caution flag to end this thing and just take the checkers like this, but having to defend now from Hadjusek, and he's been just the little mosquito in the ear, kind of buzzing around and hasn't gone away yet. And Hadjusek closes in turn 19 here, so 3 minutes to go, maybe 2 laps left here, Ryan. It's getting close, coming down to the wire.
And Lionel, not a lot of experience to draw on, grew up with a passion for cars and supercars in the Woodlands, Texas. 16 years old, began racing in karts at age 13, and has been racing now for a couple of years, but not a lot of experience. As I said, started racing karts at 13. Well, he's 16 now, so you do the math. He's not been in the big cars much. And with just under 3 minutes to go, the pressure is on as Hadjusek has well and truly run him down.
I saw Lionel kind of cheat over to driver's left there on the front straightaway. Maybe defensive, maybe trying to break the slipstream. We talked about that briefly. These cars don't have a super massive slipstream, so you're not going to just drive right up to the back of them like you're racing at Talladega. But that tells me that Lionel is feeling that pressure, and for Hadjusek, maybe smelling blood in the water.
Lionel by just over half a second over Hadjusek. Gindy still running in that third spot. Byrne has made it around Brown, as we saw a little while ago. That is 4th and 5th. Then Lindsey Brewer, Dye, Krug, and Vieser. The rest of the cars still running. Cercely out of the race, as we saw. But all eyes on this battle for the lead. Lionel versus Hadjusek. Hadjusek is on the attack.
And water is pooling. You can actually see the tires moving the water out of the way. This is a great shot at how those Goodyear Eagle rain tires are working. Look at the move over in the braking zone off of the dry line for the number 8 of Lionel. So he's already feeling a lack of grip in the normal braking zone. So moving drivers left to get out of that. And you see the power down for Hadjusek, really feeling the tires starting to spin. A little bit of correction now down the back straightaway.
You were doing the math on the power to weight ratio in these cars, and it is a lot of power for a lightweight chassis like the Mygale.
Yeah, 8.8 pounds per horsepower, which is better than that of a Mustang GT you can buy from the factory. Here's the one car in the slipstream through a puddle on the back straightaway into turn number 12 on the binders. And I'm not sure if he's going to quite get over a lap, but he's certainly hammering the rear wing of Lionel and keeping the pressure on. Really
clean stuff from these two, both on the edge of adhesion on a very wet racing surface. 1 minute, 15 seconds to go. Lionel has led from pole, led every single lap, the runner-up twice at Sonoma in the season opener, trying to hang on for his first win of the year, but Hadjusek right behind, doing everything in his power to delay that at least one race further.
And sometimes all you're going to have to do is make or pressure Lionel into a mistake. So break offline, make him look in the mirror, second guess the line that he's taking. That might be all you need to do. Sometimes you don't even need to pass somebody. You can let them spin themselves out or drive off the racetrack. But Lionel has been cool and has not made a single mistake yet that we've seen that has put Hadjusek right on that rear wing. So coming to the white flag here, though, Ryan, 3.5 miles left to decide the winner. There's that white flag, and we're going to have 20 more corners to sort this one out.
Tom Hansing displaying the white rag there at the finish line. How about this final lap and a couple of Texans battling it out for race honors here at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Lionel out in front by just over a second over Dylan Hadjusek, who runs a little bit wide there in turn 1, able to wrangle that car back under control and now back out in pursuit.
It seems like Hadjusek is a little bit better in that middle sector heading towards turn 11, and he's a little bit better on the brakes over there as well. So while Lionel was a little faster in turns 1 and 2, I think it's going to come back towards Hadjusek on the middle third of the lap, and then it's all going to come down to the carousel onto 19 and 20, and that's where we're going to see the pass for the lead, I think, if it happens.
Through the S's, famous part of this track, as Kyle mentioned earlier, modeled off of Maggots and Beckett's at Silverstone.
Big
splashing through the big old puddles, that's right. Not a fun feeling to go hydroplaning ever so slightly, although these Goodyear racing tires very good at displacing that water and giving grip even in very treacherous circumstances like this. How about the last couple of laps, though, from Lionel? We saw Hadjusek close him down, but he just set the fastest race lap on that second-to-last lap, and now edging that gap out just a little bit. It looks like he left just that last bit in the tank and he's been able to pull the gap. Not many chances left on a lap here for Hadjisek to make the move.
I was going to say the conditions look like they have gotten worse, but the drivers are going faster, and that just tells you how much the confidence is a factor in rain racing here. And Alianel has done a great job in the first half of the lap to stretch that gap out, and in the mist somewhere is Hadjisek, and I'm not sure that he's close enough to make a move here, but if he can just stay close enough, he might be able to pressure Alianel into a mistake, but only half a lap remaining.
That's right, just half a lap left in Circuit of the Americas, round 3 of the Skip Barber Formula Car Series racing season. Couple of races at Sonoma. Alianel was second in both of them. The points leader, Gindi, currently running in third. It's been a great run for him, qualified 6th, and has been able to charge up through the field and get into a podium spot. He is running about 13 seconds behind this battle you're looking at right here. Joshua Alianel out in front.
Through the carousel, this is a spot where we saw Cersei go off earlier. This is a very sketchy area right now with the wet, but Alianel is through it. Hadjisek is as well, and 2 more corners, Ryan, to finish up this race.
Through turn 19, Joshua Alianel, the Texan, leads the fellow Texan in Dylan Hadjisek, but Alianel has covered this field from green to checkers. Joshua Alianel is a race winner in the Skip Barber Formula Car Racing Series.
How good does that feel after running up a couple times to put the stamp on it there? And looks like as Alianel comes across the line, Hadjisek second, Gindi should be third. Great run for the points leader, and Bird again. A really strong result for him, climbing up through the field and battling with Brown and a few others. So he will come across the line in 4th. And then in 5th place, it should be Seth Brown, the number 12. He also had a phenomenal race, had some good battles, and sometimes, Ryan, walking away with a smile on your face can be just as good as walking away with the trophy.
No question. And there was some great racing up and down this field. These 10 drivers put on a show for us in incredibly treacherous conditions for basically the whole field to make it to the finish without incident is quite remarkable. And I agree with you. Seth Brown was right there in the middle of all of it. Lindsey Brewer, we're looking at here, had a great run in qualifying, dropped back as she kind of learned this car in these conditions. She'll have to settle for 6th. Dye and Krug still yet to come around. Both Vieser and Cersei listed as off track at the moment.
And for Lindsey Brewer, this is a great experience because, again, the TC America Series, she's running a TC car later this weekend. This is phenomenal experience to get racing in the wet. We're going to be probably a wet and dreary weekend most of the weekend here at COTA, so this is a great experience that she can take back to the touring car and maybe learn a thing or two, and it might help her out in the races tomorrow and Sunday.
How about that drive from Alianel? Started on pole, it's where you want to be, and built up a big lead, but didn't panic when it disappeared. And he came under attack late in this race, kept his head down, and was able to withstand the big challenge.
Well, he did a great job, and just starting on pole, just because he didn't pass anybody doesn't mean he wasn't the most impressive drive. Great defensive driving in the late stages of the race to stay on top of it and keep Hadjisek behind, and didn't falter when Hadjisek was keeping that pressure on. And how about Dylan Hadjisek? Also didn't falter when putting that pressure on. So both those drivers learned a heck of a lot there.
How about that for your race debut as well? First competitive race, has to do it in the rain, and is able to come home with a fighting second-place finish. Here are your final results. Alianel over Hadjisek, 1.363 seconds was the difference in the final analysis. Gindi over Bird, 3rd and 4th. Great run for both of them. Seth Brown, Lindsey Brewer, followed by Dye, Krug, Vieser, and Cersei, who we saw have that issue about halfway through the race. Final thoughts on what we saw here, Kyle?
I'm pretty amazed. I mean, we had 10 drivers with varying levels of experience on some of the slipperiest surfaces I've seen in Texas all week. It's been very, very treacherous today, and only had one spin that we saw. That is really, really impressive out of a field like this, and great job by everybody. Alianel, Hadjisek, I cannot wait to watch them race in race 2 later this weekend. I think that battle's far from over.
Let's take a look at the race highlights here. This is how it all got started. Alianel on the inside, taking the field to green, was able to hold on to that spot. Some great battles throughout this field, though. This is Brown fighting with Gindi. What a fight that was. Here's the spin out of Cersei that unfortunately ended his race, but good news, no harm, no foul. That car is still in one piece.
Yeah, just about 3 feet away from keeping the tires on course. And there's the 12 car again in a great battle with the 16 of Nathan Bird, who continued to drive forward, and then for the pass for position here. The 16 getting by the 12 and switching those spots around again. Great battle there between those two.
It was indeed, but here we go, coming to the checkered flag. Al Yanel from pole, able to take the win. Dylan Hadjasek will settle for second. Indy completing the podium in round 3 of the Skip Barber Formula Car Series from Circuit of the Americas.